Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, let's see. Okay, let's start. And it's our pleasure to have Dr. Ziyong Kim, is that right? Come from the University of Seoul, come from the Seoul National University, and she has been here already 6 weeks. She will be back next Tuesday. So it's our pleasure to have her to give a colloquium today, and we thank you for her time for the preparation of the colloquium. And she came here visit Andy for some joint research. And Dr. Kim graduated from Seoul National University in 2005. Is that right? 2006. 2006. Okay, I'm sorry that. And subsequently, she has some postdoc experience in Korea, and currently she is a faculty member there. So today's her talk is the 15th theorem and Kloosterman problem for Hermitian lattice. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Professor Cheryl, and also I thank to Professor Andy and Professor Bergman to give me a chance to be here and invite me, and thanks a lot. I'm absolutely happy to be here. Yeah, okay. And yeah, okay. So let's start. So this is my abstract. Yeah, I have no pointer. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
So yeah, this abstract was in the poster, so you may be seen this thing, and this is outline of my talk. In the first part and second part, I will introduce some basic definition and general theory about quadratic forms or Hermitian lattices. And my result will be appear the third part and fourth part. Okay? And I need to say that this is joint work with Professor Byung-Hoon Kim and Professor Busong Park. Yeah, they are all in Seoul anyway. Okay, let me start with some scale theorem. The first one is Fermat two-scale theorem, which was announced in 1640. Usually, Fermat does not give us the proof, so he just gave us the theorem like that. Any artifact number P is the sum of two scales if and only if P is 1 mod 4. For example, we can write 5 as 1 scale plus 2 scale, even if very big prime 201, 743, 929 can be written sum of two scales like that. Anyway, okay. The next thing is Gauss three-scale theorem. So a positive integer n is a sum of three integer scale if and only if n is not of the 4. Put to the nu times k with k is 7 minus 8. So the next thing is Lagrange four-scale theorem, which was proved in 1770. That is, every positive integer is a sum of four-scale integer. So, you gave me a number, then I can represent the sum of four scales. So, like this, 2012 can be written 44 square plus 6 square plus 6 square plus 2 square. The way is not unique, so there are another way. Anyway, so this kind of things I like this kind of subset. So I will talk about this kind of thing. As is well known, there are natural bijection in between the integral quadratic forms and integral symmetric matrix and integral geometrics, like that. So we shall oscillate freely between the range of forms, range of quadratic forms, and range of integral lattices, like that. For example, here, if I have a 3 square plus 2xy plus 4y square, then it can be regarded the same thing, 3, 1, 1, 4. Yeah, 3 is here, and 4 is here, 2 is 1 plus 1 makes that. And it is binary derivatives like that. And let me give another example. Sum of C square can be written down as a integral matrix. We use the notation 1, 1, 1 right there. And it is the same as G matrix generated by 3 vectors like that. So there are another example here. 2x square plus 2xy plus 2y square. It can be written 2, 1, 1, 2 matrix. And it is G matrix generated by 2 vectors V1 and V2 like that. So here is a picture for this quadratic form or the matrix or anyway. So we choose vectors this one and this one. The angle is pi over 3, and we can also choose another basis like that. If the angle is 2 over 3, then the matrix presentation looks like that. And if we choose 2 vectors and the angle is pi over 6, then the matrix presentation looks like that. But the matrices are different, but they represent the same values, integral values, like that. So we can say that they are isometric. So, yeah.
And you're requiring that the matrices be symmetric?
Yeah. Pardon?
The matrices are required to be symmetric?
Symmetric? Yeah, right.
Okay.
So here are general definitions follows. L and M are G matrices. We say that L represents M with then notation, arrow notation. Then there exists injective linear map sigma from M into L, preserving the bilinear map. And N and L are isometric with then notation. Then we say that L represents M, also M represents L. Okay, and LP is defined by L cancel GP for every prime P, and the local lattice LP represents A means there is a vector V in LP such that QV equal A. So, and genus of L is a set of all G lattice M such that so MP, local lattice MP is isometric to LP at each prime P, and class is the set of all G lattices such that M is isometric to L over Z, and class number is in the genus of L, the number of non-isometric classes. So this is general definition. Okay, here is a well-known theorem for that. If local lattice LP represents number A for prime P, then we don't know that L represents number A, but there are some lattice L prime in genus of L. The L prime represents the number A. So if the class number of L is 1, then this local representation always implies the global representations. This is well-known for that. Okay. So any question so far? Okay, let me introduce the universal quadratic form. A positive definite quadratic form is universal if it represents all positive integers. So you remember that Lagrange Foucault theorem. So sum of four square is a universal form in this manner. So sum of four square represents all positive integers. The square plus square plus square plus square makes any numbers. Yeah. So to entertain you, I will give a arithmetic puzzle. The square plus square plus square plus square makes number. The rule is very simple. First rule is each letter represents a distinct digit. Okay, and reading digits are not zero, so S is not equal 0, and N is not equal 0. If you're interested in this kind of project, so okay, so I will.
S is one of the numbers you square.
No, not scale, just digit. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's go to the next page. There are actually two types of quadratic forms according to the definition of integral that one adopt. So the easy one is classical integral quadratic form. The coefficient of quadratic form are all integers, and also the cross terms are even integers. So the matrix presentation looks like the integer matrix. Okay, and the difficult one is non-classical integral quadratic forms. The coefficient of quadratic forms are all integers. So the matrix presentation looks like that, the half integral matrix. Right? So let's start to the Ramanujan universal things. Ramanujan initiated the universal quadratic form. So Ramanujan introduced that there are only 55 universal integral diagonal quaternary quadratic forms: ax square plus by square plus cz square plus du square, like that. After that, Dixon found an error in Ramanujan list. So x square, the red one, x square plus 2y square plus 5g square plus 5u square does not represent 15. So we can correct like that. So there are 54 universal integral diagonal quadratic forms. Okay. And 1948, Willarding found 178 universal integral classical quadratic forms. After that, Kone, Schoenberger, Bhagava introduced 15th theorem. If we have a positive definite classical integral quadratic forms, then L should represent all positive integers. And also, if L represents all positive integers, then L should represent the finite number of 1 through 15. But the reverse is also true. If L is represents the number 1 through 15, then L represents all positive integers. I think it's very amazing theorem. So they to prove this, they announced that their argument made heavy use of notion of genus, in particular genus representation of ternary integral quadratic forms, like sum of three scale like that. The representation of sum of scale can be used to prove this theorem. And using this notion, they correct the Willarding list and announce new and complete list of 204 universal forms. Okay, right there. So I can list like this.
Oh, wow.
Yes, 204 is 7 mod of 2, so we can complete that. Among the list, the red is 1, 2, 4, 14, something like that. That has the largest discriminant in the list. Okay. And also, 1997, Onist and Khosrowshahi introduced that the maximum discriminant over universal positive definite non-classical integral quadratic quaternary form is less than 1073/4. like that. So you may remember.
Is our Dr. Ernest?
Yeah, right. And also Khosrabani. Do you remember Khosrabani? Yeah.
Is in her dissertation. Was in her dissertation.
Okay. Yeah. So they're interested. I think that the boundary is very important for us. Hmm? Yeah. 75.
3-4. Oh.
Oh no.
Your arithmetic wrong.
Yeah. So for non-classical one, Bhagava Hanke introduced the 290 theorem. So this theorem will be appeared in Invent Math. Yeah. So the theorem is like this. If L is positive definite non-classical integral quadratic form, then L represents all positive integers, then L represents the finite set of numbers. It is true, but the reverse is also true. L represents 1 through 290, then L represents all positive integers. So, they announced that there are 6,476 universal quaternary non-classical forms. And it was proved by using arithmetic argument and also new analytic techniques for the equations. Among the list, the 274 is the largest discriminant of the non-classical universal forms. The form is like that: x squared plus 2y squared plus 4g squared, w1 double squared plus yd minus yw plus 3gw, like that. So I think that the Ernest and Khosrabani's boundary is not, the boundary is very good at the time. I think so. Yeah. Compared to the 200 circle, I think. Yep. The 15th theorem and 290 theorem cross the universality problem for quadratic forms by proving a simple criterion. So this criterion works for large number of variables. So we can say that quinary universal form or senary universal form, octonary universal form, like that. Yeah, and also we no longer need a list of universal quaternaries, because if you give me a lattice or give me some quadratic forms, I can say that it is universal or not universal. Yeah, that's the point. So here, the Bhagava's generalization follows like that. If any infinite set of positive integers, there are unique, there exists unique S0, such that minimal finite subset of S such that if L represents A for all A in S0, if and only if L represents A for A in S, for any positive definite quadratic forms. Yeah, for example, you know some example there. First one is, if S is all positive integer, then we know that the finite set S0 is 1 through 15. It is called 15th theorem. And if S is all positive odd integer, then S0 is 1, 3, 5, 7, 11, 15, 36. It is so called the 33 theorem. So it was introduced at the Cornell's article at some proceeding. So to be honest with you, I did not see the proof, but we believe that it is true. Okay. So let's go on to the almost universal form. A positive definite quadratic form is almost universal if we represent all but finitely many positive integers. So you know this book because it was in the Ramanujan list. So it doesn't represent 15, so it is almost universal. So 1929, Tartakovsky said that F is positive definite quadratic form of rank greater than equal to 5, and if genus of F represents n, then F represents n for sufficiently large n. So we can say that if genus of represents n, then and we can say that this kind of F is almost universal. So we can say more that Tartakovsky conclusion holds for rank m. Rank is 4 plus with some conditions. To explain some condition, I need some definitions. If F is positive definite integral quadratic form, F is called P universal of GP if and only F represents every element of GP, and F is locally universal if and only F is P universal for prime P, and F is called P isotropy if and only F represents 0, non-trivial over GP, and F is called P anisotropy if and only F is not P isotropy. So with these definitions, I can say that Tartakovsky conclusion holds for m equal 4 plus F is P isotropy for all prime P conditions. So, okay. Clusterman problem like this. So Clusterman problem is find all almost universal positive definite quaternary quadratic forms. So 1926 Clusterman proved that quaternary diagonal forms are almost universal if they are locally universal and P isotropic for all prime P. And also he listed all 199 almost universal quaternary diagonal forms which are P anisotropic for some prime P. So in the 199 list, 4 is not proved at the time, but after that, the 4 proved that it is almost universal anyway. In 1946, Paul and Ross extended the Clusterman first result to the non-diagonal forms. So they say that the quaternary forms are almost universal if they are locally universal and P isotropic for all prime P. And also prove that there exist finitely many almost universal quaternary forms that are P anisotropic for some prime P. So I think okay. And after that, Ross proved that find all almost universal forms, they are P anisotropic for some other prime P. Yeah, it is true, but to make a summary, I can say that if F is positive definite integral quaternary quadratic form of rank 4, then locally universality plus P isotropic for prime P condition implies they are almost universal. I can say that. And next thing is if locally universal condition plus P anisotropic for some odd prime, in this case we know that almost universal forms are known. Yeah. But locally universal condition plus two anisotropic case, we don't know at the time. Then it was considered very hard problem for a long time until 2006. So 2006, Buckner and O found that an effective criterion for quaternary forms to be almost universal. The conditions is like that. If F is positive definite quaternary form is locally universal and two anisotropic, then it is almost universal whenever it represents this finite set of numbers. So it is kind of finite theorem for almost universality. Yeah. So it is natural question that can you find a simple criterion or representation of Hermitian lattice over imaginary quadratic field Q root minus n. That's my subject. Okay. So V is a vector space of imaginary quadratic field Q root minus n, and should be square-free integer, square-free positive integers, and V and H. V is a Hermitian space with a Hermitian map H. The H satisfies the set-field linearity. Maybe you know. So O is a ring of algebraic integer of Q root minus n, and a Hermitian lattice L is a finitely generated O module on the Hermitian space V. The lattice representation looks like that. The main difficulty is every Hermitian lattice is not free. That's the main difficulty. So if ring of integer O is a PID, then L can be written like that, very simple way. But if ring of integer O is not PID, then the best way to represent the lattice is like that. The coefficient ideal, except one coefficient ideal, they are O and 1 is the fraction like that. The well-known fact is that ideal can be written, can be generated almost 2 generator right there. So my idea is split this ideal, and I can give you matrix presentation of Hermitian lattice to control or to construct something. Okay. So for
Can you go back to the previous slide, please?
yeah, where?
The penultimate line when it says
Where?
this is alpha beta, the one before,
Where?
right above that.
You're right.
What is that parentheses?
Ideal.
Oh, just the ideal.
Yeah, ideal A can be written as
Okay,
because
but-
ideal.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought that it's either this or that. So you're representing it, right? I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, ideal can be generated at almost 2 elements.
Two elements,
Yeah. So if the field is Q root minus 3, the ring of integer is PID. If you have binary lattice L with the basis V1 and V2, with the relation HV1 is 1, HV2 equal 2, HV1, V2 equal 0, then the formal matrix presentation looks like this: 1, 0, 0, 2. And also we can find the Hermitian form. And if we plug in the x equal x1 plus omega x1, here is typo x1. X2, right, it's right, okay. And y equal y1 plus omega y2, then after expand that, we can find associated quadratic forms like that. It is non-classical quadratic form. Yeah. Usually,
The non-algebraists are wondering, what is PID principal ideal?
yeah, right,
Principal ideal. Okay.
right.
Okay, very good. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And the next thing is, if field is Q root minus 6, then ring of integer is not principal ideal domain. And if we have a binary lattice like that, then I split the ideal to omega bar like that. The matrix presentation looks like this. Yeah. It is 3 by 3 matrix, even though original Hermitian lattice is binary. But if we, after some calculation, we can finally find that the associated quadratic form is a quaternary form. Like that. Okay. So with this tool, I can do something almost to universal Hermitian lattice or universal Hermitian lattice. So here is definition. If L is a positive definite universal Hermitian lattice, if and only if L represents all positive integers. So Ernst, 1997, Ernst and Khosrowshahi found that 13 binary Hermitian forms when field class number is 1. After that, 2000, Iwabuchi found 9 universal binary Hermitian lattice when field class number is greater than 1. And after that, Dr. Jae-hyun Kim and Professor Busong-Park find 3 more binary Hermitian forms, binary universal Hermitian forms. So at this time, we can ask that, what is the critical number n? If Hermitian lattice L represents up to n, then L is universal. Can I give? Yeah. So I think it is natural question. So here, to do that, I need some definitions. First one is true. If L is not universal, then there is number that is not represented by the L. So among the n, you can find the minimum of n, and we call it the truant of L. Right there. So we will do escalate with some giving truant. So we start 0, we call it L0. Then we can construct L1 from L0 plus truant vector of L0. So next thing is L2 is from L1 plus truant vector of L1. So we will keep going this manner until Ln is universal thing. Okay. So with this manner, we can find all universal Hermitian lattice. Okay, like that. So here is some picture for escalation. So if L is universal, that should contain 1, universality is 1. The truant of 1 is 2, 3, 5. It depends on the field, Q2 minus M. Then the next truant is 3, 5, like that, 7, 10, 14, 7, 10, 7, like that. So we do keep going like that. Then we can find first table. I can indicate that the escalation rate in the first column. The second column is for the truant, and third column is for the field. Okay, I have almost like. Okay, yeah, in this manner we can find all universal Hermitian lattice. And also, I can say that 15th theorem for universal Hermitian lattice. It was published in 2010, and I can say that if a positive definite Hermitian lattice represents 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 10, 13, 14, 15, then the Hermitian lattice is universal, represent all positive integers. So, yeah. Here is some comments on this theorem. Due to our matrix presentation for Hermitian lattices, we can do escalation to find candidates of universal Hermitian lattice, including non-free lattice of imaginary quadratic field. Okay. And 15th theorem and 290 theorem gives us the true upper bound for the critical number that lies in between 15 to 290. But it is hard to figure out the set of critical number of each field. Because if I have a Hermitian matrix, I can change to I can find the associated quadratic forms. So we can say that it is universal one now. Okay, but it is not sharp, I think. So for each imaginary quadratic field, we construct the sequence of escalation matrix, and that gives an optimal set of critical numbers by arithmetic calculation, like that. Here, the information matrix over Q minus M represents the following critical numbers, then it is universal. So for example, over Q minus 3, if L represents 1 and 2, then it is universal. Very simple criterion. And over Q minus 39, it represents 1 through 17, it is universal. I can say that 13 is not in the Bhagavad, Cornell Srinivasa Bhagavad's list for 15th theorem. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
We have enough.
So let's go to the almost universal form. A positive definite Hermitian matrix is almost universal if it presents all but finitely many positive integers. So, as I said before, Kloosterman problem is find all almost universal positive definite quaternary quadratic forms. So I think that if I have a binary Hermitian matrix, then we can find quaternary quadratic forms. Related to the quaternary quadratic forms, we know the Kloosterman problem. I think there is I can say something about Kloosterman problem for Hermitian matrix. I think so, like that. Today, by dealing with Hermitian matrix directly, which field Q minus M, we give an optimal criterion on almost universal Hermitian matrix. And the corresponding quaternary quadratic forms may be non-classical. We will also give a criterion on almost universal Hermitian matrix. So using this criterion, we give a classification of almost universal binary Hermitian matrix at the end of this talk. Okay. So the main theorem is like that. I want to show you if L is a binary Hermitian matrix over Q minus M, and suppose L is a P isotropic for every odd prime P, where M is 1 or 2 mod 4, then the following are equivalent. If L is locally universal and L is 2 isotropic, then that means L is P isotropic for all prime P including 2. So that is almost universal. And if L is locally universal and 2 isotropic and with this condition, then I can say that L is also almost universal. Yeah. So you may ask that what is the definition of SM, S of M? And the next thing is where is the M equals 3 mod A or M equals 7 mod A case? So I will explain why this theorem looks like that. So to do that, I need to definition. If L is called the even Hermitian matrix, then L represents even numbers. So for example, here is the even Hermitian matrix. The diagonal is 2 and off diagonal is omega n, omega bar. We convert to the quadratic forms like that. You can see that if we have an even Hermitian matrix N, then associated quadratic form is 1/2 times non-classical quadratic. 2 times non-classical quadratic forms like that. So FL is 2 times non-classical quadratic forms. So, and also here is a definition. An even Hermitian lattice is said to be even universal if it represents every positive even integers. Okay. So I will show you several lemmas for proving the main theorem. If L is almost universal binary Hermitian lattice, and if L is P anisotropic for some odd prime P, then I can say that L is universal. So I will skip this part, and if L is almost universal and if it's too anisotropic, then I can say that L represents multiple of 4 or L represents 16, the multiple of 16 or L represents all positive integer. It depends on the field condition. So you may ask that where is the M equals 3 mod A? Because if L is too anisotropic, then L cannot be appear the M equals 3 mod and 7 mod A case, because if M is 7 mod A, then unary lattice 1 is always hyperbolic space, so it is isotropic. So yeah, this case does not appear. So so let's remind the finite theorem, Bhagavat's finite theorem. As is infinite set of finite positive integers, they exist uniquely S0, minimal finite set of subset of S such that satisfying this condition. So in fact I need S0 for the 4 times the multiple of 4 and 16, multiple of 16. Yeah, to do this we use even universality. Even here. So a primitive even universal binary Hermitian lattice over Q2 minus M if and only if M is one of the following. So actually we have 52 primitive even universal binary Hermitian lattice. So I think it is complete list, and also I can say that if a primitive even Hermitian lattice, the following even critical number in EC of M, then it is even universal. That means it is the even universality, criterion for the even universality. For example, Q2 minus 2, then this lattice is not universal because 14 cannot be represented by this lattice, but this lattice represents 2, 10, 14. 2, 10, 14, that is even universal. So, yes. Okay. So this definition is quite too complicated to understand. Anyway, the S of M is an isotropically even critical set of Q2 minus M. If and only if any locally even universal and two anisotropic Hermitian lattice of Q2 minus M is even universal whenever it represents all elements of S of M. So I can find the even critical set Sm which field like that. And this slide for the how to find the S of M, but I will skip. Finally, I found all two anisotropic even universal lattice, and I found all the set of. I found that. Okay. So here, if M is one or two mod 4, and if there exists a two anisotropic and p isotropic almost universal binary Hermitian lattice for R prime P of Q root minus M, then I can say that Q root minus M allows an even universal binary Hermitian lattice. So, with this lemma, I can say this main theorem. So, now the definition is, even though the definition is very complicated, but as we know the S of M, the point is that S of M is finite set, and I can say more, if L is binary Hermitian lattice of Q root minus M, then L is P isotropic for every R prime P, whenever M is 1 or 2 mod 4, then the following are equivalent. I can say that L is almost universal if and only if L is locally universal, and either L is two isotropic or L is two anisotropic, and L represents 2 times A, 8 times A. Because I gave you lemma for the 4 times N and 8 times N, then I can say that. So when 3 mod A, M is 3 mod A case, 2 anisotropic almost universal lattice, always universal lattice, and M equals 7 mod A, the Q root minus M does not contain 2 anisotropic Hermitian lattice. And for example, yeah. So if I have a binary lattice 1, 2 over Q root minus 17, so we can say that L is not universal because L does not represent phi. We can check that the 15th theorem. By the 15th theorem, we can check that. And also, L is almost universal because 17 is 1 mod 4, because we have criterion, and it is locally universal, and 2 anisotropic, and the even critical set of S of 17 is 2 for 10, and L represents 2 times A. A is in S of 17. With this equation, I can say that this lattice 1, 2 is almost universal. So this, I can check that in a final step. Yeah, we can say that. So, to make a conclusion, we can characterize the almost universal binary Hermitian lattice L over Q root minus M. I think this characterization depends on whether L is P anisotropic or not. Yeah. Here, if L is isotropic for prime P, then L is almost universal because by the Tartakovsky theorem. Second thing is if L is anisotropic for some R prime P and almost universal, then we can say that L is universal. So, because we have a complete list of universal lattice and universal binary lattice, binary Hermitian lattice, so we classify all these cases. 3 anisotropic case, 5 anisotropic case, 11 anisotropic case, 27 anisotropic case appear. And also, if L is 2 anisotropic, and if the anisotropically even critical set exists, the following are called. If M is 1, 2 mod 4, then L is almost universal if and only if L is locally universal and represent 2 times S of M for M equal 1 and 8 times S of M for M equal 2 mod 4. And if M is 3 mod A, then L is almost universal if and only if like that. and streamer day, then there is no tropic radius, so can say nothing. So as a consequence, so we found some almost universal Hermitian radius, and we can find associated quadratic form that is also almost universal. Yet this kind of things are non-classical things. So the Klosterman or Pohl and Ross, they found for the classical thing, classical almost universal. That is, but this kind of things are non-classical things. So I am very interested in this kind of thing. Okay. So finally, do you find the answer? So maybe not. So maybe you can do.
Put it up again. Put the question up again.
Okay.
I could read it from the...
You can read it. Sorry.
You can't see that.
Yeah, you can.
I have no glasses.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I did not check the uniqueness of this answer, but I don't know. But maybe.
All the digits are there. All the digits are there once. Every digit is there.
Yeah.
7 and 907.
Okay. Oh.
Where's 7?
No.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation.
Yes, very nice talk. So any questions?
Yeah.
So you can say everything about universal forms, and quite a lot about almost universal ones. So universal, you hit everything. Almost universally, you hit all but finitely much. What about a step back from that, where you hit all but, say, a natural density zero set? Can you say anything about that context? So slightly less universal than almost universal. Where the set of things you miss can be infinite, but say the limit, the natural density, the limit of its proportion as you go farther and farther out is zero.
Okay, so can you explain?
Well, yeah, there's a natural
natural
question. If you look at Lagrange's the old three square theorem, Gauss's three square theorem, the things that are missed are an infinite set,
Right.
but they're ruled out by p-adic conditions.
Okay.
So the natural question is to look at the integers that are not ruled out by some local condition. And then ask the question of whether the quadratic form can represent all of those things that could possibly be represented that aren't ruled out by some sort of p-adic condition, or the classical way to say is some congruence condition. And those things are called regular forms. And those, I think, are extremely interesting and have some of the similar properties to universal forms, but in some cases where there are only finitely many universal ones, there are still infinite families of regular ones. But there's some slightly different behaviors and phenomena there, and that's one of the things that Jung and I are looking at the quaternary ones that have this regularity property is a very natural.
I mean, at any rate, at almost all places, you're just going to get unramified form when there is no obstruction at all. So places, anyway.
Correct.
Right?
That's
So
Okay.
because of
Yes.
this sort of local to global statement, I don't think you will ever face the sort of situation you're describing.
Okay.
Right. I mean, you will never be able to miss a density zero set, infinite density zero set. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I also, if you were done with your question, I also had a question about what's going on. So in in Klosterman's method, the method is based on the circle method, and it's analytic, and it's in fact because of the non-vanishing of certain infinite products where you get the result. So your method is basically bootstrapping what one gets from forms over Q and lifting your results back to. So basically, what you're doing is that you take this form and represent it as something coming from Q, and then use the results on Q, or do you actually do things at the level of the Hermitian form? Does my question make sense? Are you translating results from Q and interpreting in terms of the quadratic form, or the results are actually done at the level? I mean, I guess what I'm asking is, do we expect to be able to extend these generals to higher number fields? Because right now, if you're translating results from Q, then of course it would be a lot harder to extend these things. But if you're really inventing new things that work at the level of the number field itself, then do we hope to be able to extend these results? Not just for quadratic extension of Q, but perhaps other extensions? Do you have any sense what it might be?
Yeah, it is a reasonable question. I think so. So in my method, the main thing is I can give the matrix form, because that gives us a lot of things. With that method, I can escalate something like that. But in general, over the real number field like that, I think in the real number field that does not have the Hermitian form like that. I think it is hard to control the number which represented by the radius. I think. Yes. So maybe that kind of thing, we cannot say nothing so far. Yeah.
So, for example, if you knew a theory over a totally real extension of Q, say F, then for an imagined quadratic extension of that number field, then your technology would probably work. Is that reasonable? Or not?
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, maybe you can do it.
Well, we can continue discussion in the new reception room at 3:30. So everybody welcome. 3:30. Is that right? Okay. So let's thank you for the speaker again.
Okay.
Very nice talk. Thank you. It's very nice.